Welcome to the annual Beefy Boys Prime Cuts Awards. This is our end of the year award show of all of our favorite moments of 2023. Although, this is the start of 2024, we're going to be looking back on 2023. So our favorite moments. We've got a lot of the typical award categories that other shows have, but we also have a Beefy Boys exclusive category. Make sure to check that out. Chin of the Year. No other show talks about it. We're going to dive in here and looking forward to it. We got a new little format on this year's. We're going to try to come to a consensus. In past years, we've kind of each given out separate Prime Cuts awards. We're going to try to sell each other and debate a little bit and reach a show consensus for these awards. So looking forward to this new format this year.
Me too. I think there's a chance that some categories we might not be able to settle the debate. But I suppose we'll have to just find out. We haven't previously discussed any of these, really.
Yeah, and that's what I'm excited about. Neither of us know each other's picks, so live reactions, live debates coming to you next on these Prime Cuts Awards. Let's get to it.
Hello, and welcome to the Beefy Boys Prime Cuts 4th Annual Awards. Me and Dominic are back, this time bringing you the Fight of the Year. Big award. Yeah,
this is like a pillar, right? This is a pillar, right? This is the Heisman.
They give Fight of the Night of every event, and so it's like imagine a collection of Fight of the Nights. Who's the best?
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it, honestly. This is a big time award. This because MMA doesn't necessarily have like a Super Bowl, right? You could argue like UFC 300. We'll see how that ends up, but and we have an event of the year category, so maybe that's a poor analogy. But regardless, Fight of the Year, it doesn't get much more prestigious than that. I guess I'll just put it that way. Prestigious Prime Cut coming at you.
Yeah, absolutely. So our 5 nominees here, we have Justin Gaethje versus Rafael Fiziev. Absolute banger, 3-round war.
Striker's delight.
Absolutely striker's delight. Fiziev looking destroyed after the end. Gaethje also wearing a heavy amount of damage. Next up, we have Jalen Turner taking on Dan Hooker. Also, if you haven't checked out our Chin of the Year and Comeback of the Year, Dan Hooker's in there for both. Dan Hooker's performance here is legendary, but that's not to discredit Jalen Turner. This is the category where Jalen Turner gets his flowers with Dan Hooker because he had to fight back to make it a Fight of the Year contender.
Yes, and you could argue did. I do believe I scored that fight for Turner, if I'm not mistaken.
You did. I thought you were crazy for it. It's fine. It was a split decision, so can't literally call you that crazy. Although I did think about worst scorecard of the year, and I did almost nominate that one as a category.
Well, Jalen Turner can switch tray flip, so the skateboarder in me just had to give him the nod.
I did see him hit that after the day after a fight, and I was like, okay, well, dude's a freak. Because, you got to imagine his body is just destroyed after that.
He ollies over tennis nets. He's just like a plus athlete.
His waist is 4 feet off the ground.
But there's pro skaters that would, struggle with that. The guy is a freak athlete.
100%. A lot of explosive power. Now, the next nominee, we have Irina Aldana versus Carol Hossa. Absolute war, and it was a war of one woman's chin versus one woman's legs, which is a brutal way to classify Fight of the Year.
Leg chin,
the most leg kicks ever landed in a fight.
Anyone else would have been done so. And I say anyone else, male or female. If you say any other female, I don't think it's really close.
Irina Aldana just ate them like a champion for all 15 minutes too.
The only other person I've seen eat leg kicks like that, and maybe you could argue it affected him more than it did Irina Aldana, Israel Adesanya against Pereira.
Oh, it affected him way more.
You're right. Aldana ate him better. It's wild. It was freakish.
Absolutely. Now, to that, I guess this one's more just overall. This fight took place everywhere, right? Next nominee, Alejandro Pantoja, Brandon Moreno. Number 2, which would be, I guess, not their first belt fight.
Yes.
Their first fight for the belt. Yeah, so they fought 3 times.
Didn't they fight on Ultimate Fighter? Their first fight was the Ultimate Fighter finale, right?
Yeah,
so it kind of barely counts.
Kind of barely counts. But still, in the history of them, this is their second fight. And then our final nominee, potentially the pound for pound deciding fight of the year. Well, I suppose not, because this is one and they would rematch to have two because the first was so close. Volkanovski and Makhachev, which was a 5-round, 45-pounder going up to 55, challenging for the 55-pound belt, trying to become a two-weight champion against who many consider a potential male fighter of the year or best male fighter.
Well, this fight was a super fight. Now, that word wasn't used by a lot of people to describe it at the time, but this is going to age well.
Oh, it's aged fantastic already, I think.
Already. You know, this was like goat on goat. Like, this was a super fight. Like,
yeah, and
they almost like kind of fumbled the marketing on that, which they usually do such a good job. But they honestly should have like hyped it up more, I think.
And no discredit to Islam or to Volk, but Islam went into Australia and fought Volk there.
Yeah, that was gangster. That was for sure. And
now I did score for Volk,
so I'm gonna in that context, you're not the only one. You're not the only one. Like a lot of people did. Volk kept his pound for pound status as number one, even in a loss.
I think that is fair, though, being the smaller guy fighting to a split decision.
It was a split decision, for sure, man. And I'll kind of let the cat out of the bag here. That's my winner. I'm going to get
my winner as well, but the stakes matter so much more. I mean, the fight is great, but with everything on the line for it to be that way. It's like the semifinal game of Michigan-Alabama. That game, we could have seen that game in week 3, but that game is more meaningful because it's a semifinal. Even if the team's the same.
I'm going to get into like my philosophy and my criteria for fight of the year. A lot of these categories, I went through and did research. I rewatched fights. I spent time and effort. And to me, fight of the year is the antithesis of that. To me, it's what's called like a quick answer category.
Oh, like if somebody, most memorable fight, like stands out immediately. Like, what fight this year?
Like you're a balls deep MMA fan. Like the biggest moment of the year. Like what was the biggest fight of the year? Like to me, that's an easy question. Like it's not one that you got to rewatch. It's not chin of the year. It's not comeback of the year. Like it. Fight of the year to me, like it's like the easiest category every year. Like the year it was Chandler Gagey, like duh, it was Chandler Gagey. Like it's just a quick answer, easy answer. Volk Islam, they said super fight, pound for pound number one status on the line, controversial split decision. I did score it for Islam, but you scored it for Volk. I mean, we're the microcosm of like the MMA fandom as a whole. Like Islam won, but Volk got pound for pound number one.
Also, Volk was like, if it's one FC, for sure Volk wins because he's dominating Islam at the end of the fight.
And I also I like how you agreed with kind of like my philosophy behind fight of the year. Like fight of the year isn't one that should require a lot of research. Now, some people can argue that, and like if you want to go try to do some kind of deep dive, there's other categories where that makes more sense. But fight of the year, man, it's not necessarily the most blood and guts or the most highlight. Fight of the year is a quick answer. 3 years from now, when they asked me what was the best fight of 2023, like
Volk Islam won.
Just to me, Volk Islam won. Just like the year Hooker and Poirier fight, it was that one.
Oh God, that fight. Oh.
The year Gagey and Chandler fought, it was that one.
Oh, so good. So good.
So good, bro. Like, it's the easiest category ever. So while it is...
Probably weren't doing the show then, but when Nate and Connor fought the second time, 5 rounds, probably fight of the year. It's the one that stands out to me from 2017 or whatever it was.
The fights that end up on your YouTube fucking recent searches in a couple of years, those are the ones.
Izzy, Kelvin Gastelum. Had to be a fight of the year. That one was a fucking... Oh my God.
The ones that like survived the test of time, right? Like honestly.
Yeah, like literally when I came out and we were just like recalling the fights that we were like, oh, these are the best fights of like all time. Well, those were clearly the fights of the year and or second place. If they were like a year where we got blessed with 2 of that quality. This year, I think
Hooker Poirier won. I think our first year ever of Beefy Boys, if I'm not mistaken.
And then Chandler
we watched that fight together the night you're talking about. Like it. Yeah, philosophically we agree on fight of the year. It's just like a quick answer, knee jerk. Like it's an obvious one. Islam Volk
Absolutely.
won. Yeah, for sure. I'm glad you saw it the same way because there is some lawyer ball arguments for some of the other ones, but it's Volk Islam won fight of the year. Let's go. Also, I guess I'll kind of add it on here as an asterisk caveat. Uh, Female fight of the year, which next year very well may be its own category. Aldana Hosa,
Yeah,
for
and
sure.
which is the only nominee of females here on this list. So I think, like, in our estimations, it would clearly be there. But that's not to discredit. There were some other good female fights. Just like these guys, these other four fights that were men's fights, those guys fucking went for it.